Well, hi there, everyone. Welcome to the channel. It's getting close to Thanksgiving, and I'm so excited. Today's recipe is for a dessert mix in a jar for mini pumpkin pies. This will make a dozen minis, and as always, feel free to scale this recipe down if needed. I just love these little pies. They're super cute, and they're really delicious. I'm using my shelf-stable pie crust recipe, which gives you a tender and flaky crust. There's no need to pre-bake this crust. You can fill it with the pumpkin pie filling and then bake it all at once. They feature Thrive Life's scrambled egg mix, and I find that it's perfect for baking. Now, when my mom made pumpkin pie, she always used the Libby's brand pumpkin, and it's my favorite too. Using canned evaporated milk will give you a rich and creamy, thicker filling than if you were to use, let's say, instant milk powder. So I like to use that. So anyway, you can assemble this in advance, and since cans and jars are portable, you could take it with you if you're traveling for Thanksgiving. And then you can just make it when you get there. These are just add water mixes. So let me show you how I put this together. For the crust mix, you'll want to put everything into a bowl and mix it first before you put it into the jar. So I'm starting with a couple of cups of flour, and to that I'm just going to add some kosher salt, and then a heaping tablespoon of the Thrive Life butter powder. That gives wonderful butter flavor to your crust. And then you'll need a heaping tablespoon of our scrambled egg mix. And when you add the egg mix into the pie crust dough, what it does is it gives the dough structure without making it tough. So it just makes it a lot easier to handle. I'm using lard for my fat. Now you can use shortening, but my tummy doesn't like shortening. My system likes lard, so I always use lard. And just using a pastry blender, you'll need to combine the fat into the dry ingredients. And this just takes a couple of minutes. You could use a fork here if you prefer, but I like using a pastry blender. You'll just get a good distribution of fat throughout the flour, and that is the texture you're looking for, kind of like coarse crumbs or sand. And then you can load that mix into your jar. Now, since you've included the fat into the flour, you do need to use this within probably 3 to 4 months. Check your expiration date on your lard. You don't want it to go rancid on your shelf. I used mine within probably 4 or 5 months. Okay, for the pie filling, into a pint-sized jar, you're going to put your sugars and your seasonings or spices, and then some scrambled egg mix. So I'm using brown sugar and white sugar here. And since I was about to make this pie, I just used regular brown sugar. If it's going to sit on your shelf a long time, you might use that pourable brown sugar. I'm using pumpkin pie spice, a good amount of it, as well as some vanilla powder and some kosher salt. If you don't have vanilla powder, you can just write yourself a note to add the regular vanilla whenever you make the pie. I like to keep the scrambled egg mix separate and in a little baggie because I just like to, when I make the pie, I like to add the water to it and mix it just to make sure there's no lumps. So anyway, that's all there is to this, the pie filling jar. Of course, you'll also need a can of pumpkin and a can of evaporated milk. And that's what you would store on your pantry shelf. Okay, I wanted to show y'all, I had my cookbook printed and I spiral bound it, and I thought it turned out really great. I'm hoping to offer those to y'all at some point in time. All right, when you're ready to make these mini pumpkin pies, to make the crust, you'll get out a large bowl, empty the contents of the jar into the bowl, and then you're just going to need some ice water. You'll need somewhere between 4 and 6 tablespoons of ice water for this amount of pie crust. Now what I did was I started with 4 tablespoons, and then I stirred, and I added 1 more tablespoon, And that's all I needed this day. I needed 5 tablespoons. It doesn't seem like very much water for that amount of pie crust mix, and it's really not a lot of water. You know you have added enough water whenever the ingredients really start to stick to each other and pull away from the bowl. And for some reason, pie crust is just kind of intimidating to people. I'm not sure why, maybe because they didn't grow up making it, but pie crust is really not very hard to make. It might take you a couple of times to figure out just how much water it needs to know exactly what you're looking for, but it's not very difficult to make. I hope y'all give it a try, even if you've never tried it before. Get your hands in there and you'll see what I mean. What you want to do is squeeze the dough together, okay? You're incorporating all those little crumbs and squeezing, and it should easily form a ball. So that is the consistency you're going to look for in your pie dough. And you can press your finger into it and it will stay indented. That's what you're looking for. It's a little bit sticky, not too sticky. And then we're going to roll it out, cut out some circles, and then stuff a muffin tin with the pie dough. And y'all, the funny thing is this is the second time I had rolled out my dough. Because the first time I rolled out my dough, I got the wrong size biscuit cutter and I cut out all these circles and I was like, oh my goodness, why do I have 16 circles? I used the wrong size biscuit cutter. So I had to gather that all together, make another ball and re-roll it out. So anyway, don't be like me. Use the right size biscuit cutter. You'll need about a 3-inch biscuit cutter. And you just need to cut out 12 circles. So you are going to have to re-roll your dough. I got 9 the first time, and then I got another 3. I still had some leftover scraps, and I made some pie crust sticks because I've got a jar of my chicken pot pie soup, and those pie crust sticks are perfect for it. So anyway, you want to press your dough circles down into a prepared muffin tin. I sprayed that with some cooking spray. I used the bottom of a 1/2 pint jar, but you could get it in there however you like. And you can refrigerate that dough while you make your filling and preheat your oven at that time as well. You'll need it at 350. All right, for the pie filling, what you'll want to start with is those scrambled eggs. And I just got out a large bowl, emptied my little baggie into the bowl, and then I added 6 tablespoons of water. So that's right in between 1/4 cup and 1/2 cup. That's what 6 tablespoons is. Give it a whisk. This is why I like to keep that separate, is I just want to make sure there's no lumps in my eggs, like it all gets incorporated and refreshed properly. And then to the eggs, you can add the entire can of that Libby's pumpkin. And the only ingredient in there should be pumpkin. And then you'll add 3/4 cup of evaporated milk and give that a stir. I like using the leftover evaporated milk in mac and cheese. I think evaporated milk in mac and cheese is just luxurious. So once you get that good and stirred, you'll add the sugar jar. So if you'll remember, that's brown and white sugar. It's the vanilla powder, a little pinch of salt, and pumpkin pie spice. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you can just substitute cinnamon and maybe a pinch of nutmeg and allspice, and that'll be just as good. You can go ahead and fill those crusts, and you can get it all the way up to the top. I used an ice cream scoop. Isn't that pretty? I love that bright orange pumpkin pie filling. We always say pumpkin. Do y'all say pumpkin? We say pumpkin. All right, and that is what you will pop into the oven. You'll need to bake those mini pies for about 40 minutes at 350. You need a little bit longer if you're using a homemade pie crust. I've noticed that if it's a refrigerated pie crust, they're ready in more like 30 or 35 minutes. You can do a toothpick test to make sure that the filling is cooked through. It'll come out mostly clean. Aren't those pretty? And then you need to let them sit in the muffin tin for probably like 10 minutes. And then you can remove them to a wire rack. They need to cool completely. But yeah, they shouldn't give you any trouble. They unless the pumpkin filling kind of spilled over the edge, they should come out pretty easily. I just used an offset spatula and ran it around the edge, but they popped out pretty easily. And the crust, y'all, is so good. It's nice and golden on the sides and on the bottom. Now they do have to cool completely before you top them if you want to put some whipped topping on there, because if not, it'll just melt and run. And then you can sprinkle that with just a little bit of cinnamon. And isn't that so cute? And they look kind of fancy. I think they're pretty impressive. These would be great to serve to your family and friends on Thanksgiving. And that was the perfect bite. My husband says that these mini pumpkin pies have the perfect ratio of filling to crust. Because with regular pumpkin pie, I'm always like wanting more crust. And this right here, this will give you more crust. And I just think they're so cute. And y'all, they are very tasty. The pumpkin pie filling has the perfect amount of sweetness. It's not overly sweet. It's just right. And then the crust. Oh my word, the crust is so good. And it's so easy to make. It's definitely worth doing homemade if you can do that. I think you and your friends and family will love these little pumpkin pies. And then you don't have to slice them, right? They're just perfect the way they are. All right, guys, I will include my full recipe as well as my shopping link in the description box below. I'll also include my website where you can pick up my cookbook. I've written a cookbook. It's an ebook, and you can download it to multiple devices after you purchase it, and then you can print off any of the recipes you're interested in. I have more than 90 recipes in there, everything from breakfast to sides to mains and desserts and soups, lots of good recipes. And I've got hyperlinks to my videos that you can click on if you want to watch the video as you're making that recipe. So that is a great cookbook. I'd love for you to have a copy. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and then leave me a comment below. I pray you'll have a blessed day and a wonderful Thanksgiving. God bless you. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.